I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies, the basketball podcast. I'm Ben Detrick. With me,
I'm Jordan Redaelli.
I'm Andrew Kuo.
don't step on your own intro. That's Jordan Redaelli.
Stepped on your foot and crossed you up, just like Lance Stevenson. Sent you on your merry way to the baseline.
Andrew Kuo is also here.
Jeff Green was a really good sport about that.
He was great. He's like, you know what? If it helps you guys sell newspapers, I don't know. They don't make them. If it helps you guys
What is
sell
this, 1940?
Exactly.
If this is
the
gonna
news
if this will save
Yes.
modern media,
He's like, if this is news that's fit to print, you can tell everyone that he crossed me up. Whatever. Oh, but also, that motherfucker had like 3 heart attacks before he was 22 years old. Like, he gives a shit about anything trivial.
that's true. Jeff Green's kind of along the lines of, look, I know Facebook and I know Google are eating up all the ad revenue. If there's something I can do for all you bloggers out there, I will fall. I will be mocked by Lance Stevenson. He can strum his guitar if it moves blog posts.
I like that Lance's guitar is, by scale of how he's playing it, it's more of a ukulele. He's like that tiny
Big strum.
He's like the Tiny Tim of the NBA rather than the say Eric Clapton of the NBA.
It's a low hand.
Yeah.
How would you do you think he's doing the guitar interpretation the best? Like, what do you think he should be doing?
I mean, he's got to stretch out a little more. It looks like he's playing a ukulele. Like
Like a little fiddle.
Yeah, it's like he's tiptoeing through the fucking tulips over here.
But the good thing about it is that it's very easily replicated. So if you do anything against Lance or want to mock Lance, all you have to do is a little strum and everyone knows exactly what you're doing.
Like Westbrook, right? Like, there's that great gif of Westbrook doing it and Lance like walking by in the background just staring at him. It's great.
And everyone knows exactly who it's directed to. It's the guitar man, Lance Stevenson, the fiddler.
We have so many things to thank Magic Johnson for.
That's true, we do. Are you excited about the Joker trailer, Jordan? I don't think we've talked about that.
Let me put it this way. Yes. I mean, Joaquin is a living legend. What?
I didn't say anything. I just laughed over
He
here.
laughed. Well, he is. And I was excited by his weight loss from being like a big old tub of lard in You Were Never Really Here to, I don't know, painfully thin, pretty scary looking guy. Also, when that movie came out, or when the trailer came out, or when the story about what it was going to be came out, I was a little bit worried because it seemed to be biting Scorsese pretty heavily with Taxi Driver and King of Comedy, two of my favorites.
Scene by scene, right?
Almost scene by scene, but I think they're kind of admitting to that. Like,
Yeah.
it's part of the thing, but the trailer made it look pretty cool. King of Comedy, the most underrated Scorsese movie ever, versus Taxi Driver, the most overrated Scorsese movie ever.
Oh, it's a hot enough take.
Yeah, I didn't really get the story part of the Riddler. There's no
Well, there's no Riddler.
ba-
It's
there's
called
no-
the Joker.
Yeah, that
'cause
guy
it
as well.
features
Yeah, the Joker. I just meant, where's the Batman?
Well,
It's him becoming.
So there's no the Batman at all?
Do you know anything about Batman?
Batman's
dad was murdered by the Joker when he was a kid.
Really?
In a lot of different versions of Batman, yes.
I thought he was murdered in Crime Alley, which is like
Yeah,
the stupidest
by-
name for an alley.
by a random dude, not the Joker.
Have you seen Tim Burton's Batman?
Did Tim Burton have the Joker doing it?
Yes, it's Jack Nicholson as a young hoodlum pre-Joker.
Oh, yeah, it's coming back to me.
Was it really called Crime Alley?
I don't
Isn't that
think
like the
so.
joke that it's called Crime Alley?
Oh, really?
I mean, you really going to sweat dudes for decisions they made in the 1940s about naming things? Like, was it too obvious for you now? So
I just wouldn't choose to walk through Crime Alley is all I'm saying. Sounds like a place where bad
Well, I
things
think
happen.
that was the point, is that they accidentally ended up in Crime Alley, and they're like, oh, shit, I hope nothing bad happens, and then you get murdered.
It's going to the food poisoning hotel. You just never would step
Well,
in.
let's just make
if it
a
existed.
quick cut here through Nice Alley, and we'll get over to Good Street. Oh, wait a minute.
Crime Alley.
I'm all turned around here.
Mug Lane. Oh.
But yes, I think it looks good.
But do you think it looks too much like the Christopher Nolan interpretation of the Joker? Like, is it borrowing too much from Heath Ledger's last performance?
No, I don't think so. I think it hedges closer to like image-wise of the comic books, of certain comic book interpretations of Joker rather than Heath Ledger. Like, you can either go like grimy and actually frightening sort of Heath Ledger, or you can do the other filmed versions of the Joker, which are cartoonish and...
I know, like, why did these superhero movies go back and forth between, like, grimy and cartoonish? Can we get, like, a little twist? Like, I was hoping, like, it would be a musical, and he'd be the good guy, and Batman would be the bad guy, which is the whole story with Batman and the Joker, right? Like, who's the bad guy, who's the good guy? And not having the Batman in there is kind of a bummer because, like, they have to have each other, right? They're attached. They're tethered.
Hey, look, I mean, there's plenty of sequels for them to find their love and...
Well, the Jared Leto one will have Batman.
So you want a gritty reboot, or
No,
you don't want a gritty?
I want a
reboot?
musical where the Joker is like this fun-loving, singing guy who's a good guy.
Is he
know,
also a
something.
midnight toker in this musical?
Hopefully, Toke Alley.
Toke Alley, like Marijuana Square.
Dickhead Triangle.
Hey, that place exists, and there's two of them.
Was I could be wrong here. I'm not the movie expert, as some people might.
Here's Ben about to be wrong.
I seem to recall a quote from Jack Nicholson in talking about playing the Joker, and he said he warned Heath Ledger about the role because and he did not say it. This is a quote from someone else, but it was like, "It's the mask that eats into your face." That's a quote about
Jack Nicholson's still coherent at that point. What was that, like 10 years ago? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, something is a mask that eats
11.
into your face. I think it's
12.
I think it's
12 years ago.
Wait, is it Pride is the mask that eats into your face? Anyway, it was a quote about the role, like infecting your soul and taking and having an effect on you. And he kind of was like, "I warned him," and then Ledger went and died.
Yeah, that's kind of unfair a little bit,
It's
right?
definitely unfair. So what I'm saying is, are you worried, Jordan, about your guy?
Living legend.
Living
perishing.
legend. Like, will
Taking that
the
risk.
Joker curse take him down?
He's resilient as fuck, man. His older brother cocked it in front of him on the sidewalk. Letterman clowned him.
I always
He's
forget
still,
about
he's
his
still
brother.
going. Yeah. What do you mean you forget about his brother?
I always forget because he's become
Non-living
a star,
legend, River Phoenix.
but he's become a star in his own right, almost surpassed. I mean,
Yeah,
just through
he's-
repetition.
Whoa.
He's almost become like River Phoenix is basically
Awesome.
like a Venice Beach T-shirt at this point.
Like James Dean kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
I mean, but his little brother has had a very good career.
Do you have trouble going to the Viper Room to this day?
Is it still there?
Yeah, I mean I don't know if it's still there. I went there maybe like
Is that where Guns N'
15
Roses
years
played
ago
their
or
first
something,
show?
and I saw Matchbox 20 play. Not Matchbox 20. What are they called? Maroon fucking 5.
Oh,
Shout to Mickey Madden, the god.
Oh yeah.
I
My
watched The
shouts go
Voice.
out to Adam Levine, my man.
Did you see footage of him having his 40th birthday party?
He's not 40. I refuse to believe that he's 40. He's only 32. See those abs?
on the Staples Court. He had a little pickup game with all of his friends, and that was his birthday party. Solid birthday party.
How was his game?
It just showed like them like dapping up before they started. I didn't see I don't know. There must be footage out there. He must have played in some jock jam, right?
Yeah, I bet Adam Levine's got game. He's tall, he's lean.
It looked stockier than I thought.
Really?
So you're saying you're shaming him?
No, you're shaming him now. I just said stocky.
Okay. The Viper Room is apparently still open, according to Google.
Wow. Is why
coming up
is,
this week?
Why is Adam Levine stocky? Has he just been eating too much Chinese food?
I think 40s time catches up with you, man.
Yeah. So does all that MSG.
If it was
Are
true.
we talking about Madison Square Garden?
Yes.
In
The Mecca of
MSG-related
Chinese
news.
food.
Yeah, so do you want to explain what this whole kerfluffle was about this week that involved Asian restaurants and slurs and racism and responses.
Because we like talking about Chinese food. 'Cause
We
we're
always
big
like
fans
talking
of
about. We are all fans.
we've got a Chinese guy who likes talking about
Hey.
Chinese food.
Don't let everyone know.
This is our wheelhouse.
and we eat him up every week.
So there was a new restaurant about to launch in University Place, I believe, and it was pitching. It's fast casual, so it was not like a traditional restaurant. It's like one of those newfangled, quick in and out kind of things, like Sweet Green and
Yeah, or like those new pasta places that are in and out pasta
Ooh,
places.
that Mark Ladner's didn't survive. I was a big fan of.
That one on 6th Avenue closed down like immediately.
I know the food was good, but pasta's good no matter what. We've had this discussion before about Italian food, but
The Kuo fast cash archives are dense.
so this Chinese restaurant it's slated to open, and they claim to have clean Chinese food that won't make you feel bad after you eat it.
At long last. So what's the problem?
Finally,
What's the problem and what's the point then?
true story. Yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of outrage on their Instagram, and a little bit of pushback from the local community and community abroad that they maybe should rethink their strategy. And the proprietor and chef of this place is not Asian, so people took offense to that. The fact that she framed it in the way that she was like, I'm making it palatable for healthy-minded people.
So a white woman was saying, I'm going to make Chinese food, but it's not the dirty Chinese food that the Chinese make. I could see that being objectionable to some people.
Yeah, like you had to read the room a little
Like
bit.
soft people.
I mean, one of my first feelings was like, well, how good is the food? Is the food awesome? Like, I don't know. Obviously, the language is poor, and a lot of these things come down to phrasing and writing. And she had a lot of objectionable phrases that she deleted after pushback. But now people are coming after her about the whole conception of the idea, and I hear them. Like, this is not maybe the right time to. She could have just been like, I'm doing Asian-inspired food that I love.
Well, the dirty
fine.
is a
Did she use the
adjective.
word dirty?
I don't believe so. I believe she used clean, which is
Yeah.
to suggest it was dirty.
Okay.
But clean is different because it's how, like, a lot of healthy food, like without seasoning or without oil and shit, is described. Like, people eat clean. My cousin is a bodybuilder and he eats clean.
Whoa. What do you mean bodybuilder? Like competitive bodybuilder?
Him and his wife are fucking massive.
Wait, and his wife? So you're related to two competitive bodybuilders.
Also,
Yeah.
they're Maoris, which
Yeah.
is like
I'm Maori.
Do they
Right,
have your
well,
height
but
gene?
they're
Are they
like-
like massive?
She's quite short. He's maybe a few inches shorter than me, but they're fucking massive.
Wait a second.
Like crazy ripped, and she's also just like an amateur but very skilled boxer, and she's fucked him up before.
Aren't they in New
She
York?
knocked him. I'm sorry, Christian, but she knocked his ass out in the ring once, and he like
A sanctioned battle. where they were
ran
both-
home with like sanctioned battle.
Yeah.
And she tuned him up, and he like in front of all of his friends, and he like had nothing to say and just grabbed his shit and went home.
What
was real
kind of
sad.
knockout was it? Was it like Tyson-esque, or was it like a war of attrition?
I wasn't there. I think that he probably got a little bit too cute, and she dropped him.
Respect.
Yeah. So yeah, they eat clean. I don't think that they're out there being like, get that dirty Chinese food away from me.
I love dirty Chinese food.
I love
but
dirty
I love
Chinese
clean
food
food too.
I like clean food also.
Yeah,
but
I see you eat breakfast. You have a healthy breakfast.
I can't really see. I read a lot of that stuff about the Chinese food, and I can't really see anything wrong with it other than people's own sensitive prejudices against what they feel Chinese food is. She didn't really say anything about Chinese food. It's what other people thought she was saying.
Okay,
and so that makes them the fucking food
Okay.
racist.
What? Okay. I've gotten to the bottom of what she said. I'm going to read it, so now we can all be on the same page here.
We got the bottom way back machine or whatever that is. You got.
The computer thing. So she did not say dirty. That was just words that I put in her mouth to describe
Food
Chinese
racist.
food. She said, Ariel Haspel, a Manhattan nutritionist with a sleek social media presence, wanted to open the kind of Chinese restaurant, she said, where she and her food-sensitive clients could eat. One where the lo mein wouldn't make people feel, quote, bloated and icky, or one where the food wasn't, quote, too oily or salty. She chose a name for her new restaurant.
Look at it. Listen to all these racist terms she's using.
She chose a name for the restaurant, Lucky Lee's, that sounded stereotypically Asian, even though she and her husband, Lee, are not Asian. She decorated the restaurant with bamboo and jade touches and designed her logo with a chopstick-inspired font. There was her crimes.
Wow.
And then a lot of pictures, like beautifully shot pictures of like takeout containers full of pretty good looking Chinese food. I don't know, man.
Man, Win Sun.
Cancelled.
There's a great place, Win Sun, in Bushwick.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Chef is not
Not Taiwanese. Not Taiwanese.
One of the partners is, who's awesome.
There you have it.
But you can tell, like, remember when you guys ate there with a chef friend of ours, Aiden? And I was like, can you guys, like, kind of tell when, like, it's a white person making the Asian food? And sometimes you can, but you're right. Maybe it's, like, our own bias going into it. It's dribble bias, but delicious, oily noodles dribbling down our chin.
Yeah. Oily. So that's the thing. Clean, oily, salty. There's a fucking whole industry of... I'm swearing again a lot. Coffee makes me swear. So get ready. Playoff game. We've had 10 cups. It's just going to be full Tourette's.
And the drug board has seemingly been put aside, or has it?
Playoffs haven't started yet, dude.
Okay.
Get ready for Monday.
Tomorrow, Saturday.
No, Monday is probably the next pod where I'll be on drugs.
But this is like fumes of the MSG, the Chinese restaurant syndrome thing that was debunked fully maybe like a decade or two ago, but people still believe it, and I'm with the people who believe it. So the Chinese restaurant syndrome is MSG makes you sick. It gives you a headache, you feel paltry, you might even suffer from some sort of like stomach abnormality or whatever, gas, and whatever you want. And
What's abnormal about gas?
It's almost as if you're describing food poisoning.
It doesn't exist. Food poisoning does not exist. It's all in your mind. Same with MSG poisoning. But when people are like, it makes me feel bad, I'm like, that's fair too. Like, I'm not sure like where the racism comes in, or just like people wanting to be like, my body's a fine-tuned machine. I can sense, my spidey sense can sense everything wrong that comes into it. But like, I don't know.
It's to me, I'm slightly outraged that a bunch of like PC dipshits have ruined this business and this person's reputation because she was trying to make food that was a slightly healthier version of food that she already previously enjoyed and liked cooking. And that's kind of shitty on people's part. I love Chinese food. Sometimes I don't want to eat it because of those particular reasons. Like, I've had a lot of oil and salt and MSG this week.
Delicious.
I just want my bok choy like with light seasoning.
I mean, there's a few successful Mexican restaurant chains that like don't phrase it that way, but are fast casual, and like they on TV, they're like, we make the chicken every day right in front of you. It's delicious. Like we chop all the vegetables right in front of you. So it's a thing.
There's also the issue of restaurants who were initially only created by, say, Chinese immigrants. They changed their menu up for American tastes. And there was kind of whether it was true or not, the idea that Chinese people would come in and order off a different menu, or just say what they wanted and it would get cooked, versus the white people who came in and said, okay, we want chow mein.
Yeah.
We want whatever, sesame chicken. Like the standard.
I want Singapore noodles.
But
Is that your jam?
Yeah.
But the
You like
standards.
that curry
So-
rice noodle
I
stuff?
do.
But I guess what I'm saying is you've already had from day one the cuisine being catered to a white as like a euphemism as for American audiences, and for their taste buds by the people who are actually bringing that food here, which is interesting when you compare that to, say, the Mountain House.
Szechuan Mountain House. Shout out to one of the best
Szechuan
restaurants.
Mountain House.
Because it's in Manhattan.
Keep that MSG flowing for me, baby.
It's not deep in Queens. It is not a cheap restaurant, but the menu is what you would say, quote, authentic.
Totally authentic.
And it's frog legs and
Jellyfish
intestines
and fish maw.
stuff that is not customarily encountered by a white or even American consumer across the board outside of people who are from that exact culture. But they also still even have the kind of standards, and the menu is broken down a little bit.
And the American part of it's delicious. It's awesome.
But there is like a FYI.
Yes.
You order from these 4 pages.
All right, this has gone on far enough.
no.
I'm announcing right now the formation of a second podcast about Chinese food called Fortune Cookies.
Fucking tight, man.
Yes, we're doing it.
At long last. Finally,
It's been a long game.
some direction for this wayward pod. And it comes from those wayward of cookies. that
You
brought it
heard
back
about those
together.
white guys doing a podcast about fortune cookies?
Well, I was going to say, it's me and Jordan.
I'll see you online.
Yeah, you can just report from the field. It'll just be that. It'll be us here talking about, and you just talking us through it. There can be all the slurpings and everything.
I mean,
going
our
on.
emoji stuff is seamless. Just swap out the chocolate chip cookie for a fortune cookie. It's a go, fellas.
Locked and loaded. Well, yeah, I don't know.
Fortune, you will not be the coach of an NBA team at the end of this season. Ouch.
Fortune, you will dominate the playoffs in Toronto.
Fortune,
You will be fired.
Bickerstaff, are out of here.
Larry Drew, someone with two first names.
Can't trust him.
Well-
Can you trust a man named Jaeger?
Well, before we drop Jaeger bombs, I was hoping you'd pick that up. That is Quo's drink of choice.
Man, it's really it's a beautiful day here in Pond City.
No, this is
Pun
Alley.
Place.
Pond Alley.
Pun Place. Free of puns. No!
Some witty jokes. Let's go to. Oh no! Oh no! Pun Boulevard. We meet again. Well, the biggest story of the NBA, much to Jordan's chagrin, because he thought we were done talking about the Lakers, but here we are. Magic Johnson, following last week's game, marched out, and unbeknownst to Rob Pelinka, his compatriot in the Lakers front office, or Ginny Buss, his boss, or Luke Walton,
his sister.
And his
coach,
wife?
or
Amin Al Hassan came on the Lebitard show this morning, was like, his wife didn't even know.
so Magic.
I don't
didn't
think
tell
he
anybody.
knew.
I think that's very possible as well. But so
I
let me
think
just get to what he did. and
In case nobody knows.
I'm just saying,
Let's go.
there's definitely some listeners who don't.
Okay.
We know them all.
Zabo.
No kink shaming.
Anyway, Magic came out and said, I'm done here. I want to go back to being free as a bird, Magic who can tamper willy-nilly and be a beloved figure instead of someone who is criticized for, say, making decisions.
Yeah.
He wanted to go back to
Being
just-
able to tweet and congratulate people.
Yeah, he wanted to go back to being like fun-loving Magic who
A
can
celebrity
make,
again.
A celebrity who can say bad opinions and everyone just laughs it off instead of saying, wait a minute, you're running this franchise into the ground. So yes. Why did he do this? I mean, is it obvious?
I don't know.
is what he
I watched
said?
that. I watched that press conference, and it seemed like he had a little moment where everything just went silent.
Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, everything went silent, and then he just was like, "Fuck it, mask off." just dropped it. It was
Like, I am Iron Man.
yeah, I'm done. Oh yeah, exactly.
This GM position is the mask that eats into your face. I'm kind of with Jordan. I don't think he knew he was going to do it until the moment those words tumbled out of his mouth. He thought it might do it, and he was like, Magic, shoot your shot. Quit your job.
It was the celebrity in him being like, oh, there's a moment here. How do I make this about me? It's like, I quit. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm done.
yeah,
I've not told anybody.
It looks like people are around me, listening to me. There's cameras up. What can I do? What can I do? Magic,
Yeah.
here it is. I quit.
How do I not talk about Dwayne Wade or Dirk Nowitzki? Oh,
Quit my job.
yeah. I think he'd been maybe weighing it up in his mind, but not nearly as much as he should have been before he did it. and was like, "What is it? Friday at 6?" I was like, "I ain't coming back on Monday.
I mean,
Like it's Friday. Let's go."
who amongst us, whomst this,
Oops.
cannot 100% sympathize with him meeting with players, nodding, in his mind, I'm so fucking out of here. Just like, oh yeah, totally, that's a great idea. I'm going to get right to work on that. Like,
Oh, he's
my God,
100% correct.
He's like, "No,
He did the right thing.
When was that?
Yeah.
Oh, exit interview. No, I meant my exit.
But just that feeling when you're at a job and you're nodding and you're like, I am out of here in like a week, like 2 days. Absolutely. I can't wait till we really dig in our heels come around quarter 2.
Or when your boss is like, hey, tomorrow, can you do that thing I want you to do? And you're like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah, for sure. See you first thing Monday.
Can you fire our coach? Cool. I'll see you Monday. It's like, maybe not.
I'd love to do some scouting in Slovenia. Absolutely. Let's get on that next week. Great. Yeah, I can't wait to look at that guy who we could take with pick number 47. Yeah, he sounds
But
fantastic.
he seems like the guy that's going to get like fired from the bar or like quit his job at the bar and then turn up and drink there every other day.
No, we're talking about Magic.
Yeah.
Come on. No, I thought you were
I
just...
mean, it was fine. It was fine. But I mean, it is. You don't think so? He's going to be fucking hanging around the Lakers like a bad smell. And they're all going to be like, no, dude, you kind of quit on us.
That is true. He'll kind of come in and still kind of be boss man Magic.
I think he still has that collateral. I think he can still do that. I think Jeannie Buss was like, we love him. He's cool. I think everyone is okay with Magic Johnson. He cut it off right before he could actually be blamed for anything.
Magic Johnson got cut off. Did it grow back because it was Magic? Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop.
Officer, here's the thing. This was probably a best case scenario for the Lakers, right? Because Magic was...
Best case scenario is if he quit after Luke Walton was fired.
Maybe, but as a fan of the 29 other teams more than the Lakers, I was bummed because I was like, it's more fun if Magic fucks things up a little bit more.
We discussed on the show many times, as Jordo can attest, the fact that LeBron made a perilous gamble in trusting the probably the best years, obviously the best years remaining of his career, with Magic Johnson at the helm. And that kind of takes me to another thought, which is related to this. In the NBA, we have billion-dollar franchises, maybe at a minimum $300 million.
I believe they just released numbers that say the league average is now valuation of $1.9 billion.
And
There you go.
the Knicks are still 1.9 billion.
Yeah.
No, it's more than that, right? Because teams
No, that's
are
the
worth
team average.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
average.
So let's
Okay,
just say that. That's even more than I thought it would be. So $2 billion.
Yeah, almost $1 billion more.
And there's only 30 GM jobs. These are coveted, impossible to get jobs. There are a lot of people who could probably do them. There are a lot of guys who have these incredibly powerful positions at billion-dollar companies who are bad at it. And that always is shocking, right? Because if you said, let's pick the 30 best brain surgeons on the planet, we're going to get them together. And you're like, yeah, honestly, 15 of these guys, like, they can't do surgery. Like, they're terrible at this. They will, like, just, like, rearrange things, and you'll be, like, looking out of your ear.
But
They're brain surgeons, but just the lobotomies.
Like, in name only. But
There's like certain GMs there like trying to like drill into somebody's head with a handsaw.
But it is really
Hand
nuts.
saw.
But there's nothing in the universe that works like the way you're talking about, where like you have parameters for performance, and then you can just like acquire the best thing that performs in those
Ironically,
parameters.
here, basketball does.
In what situation?
It's a complete meritocracy, and it may shift at times because of the way that salaries work, but it is a meritocracy.
But there's too much bias for like any of this like kind of like mathematical thinking, and that's the fun of it, right?
I mean, you're an artist, and
Sure.
and you are in an industry in which
He's a tracer.
greatness is completely interpretive, and people get incredible fortunes for work that may or may not be good. We don't even know, and it's up to
the market
the
to decide.
marketplace.
Yes.
But that's why basketball is weird when we have guys like Magic who are clearly not, and Rob Pelinka, guys who are not fit to run an NBA team, in charge of an incredibly valuable franchise.
I would say fit enough though, because if Magic stays on and they maybe get one of these decent players floating around this summer, they make the playoffs, we kind of like forget the year that LeBron was kind of like got hurt in, right? Like, so Magic doesn't do himself any favors by quitting now. But if he just did nothing or stayed on, like, we'd just be like, he did a job. That's fine. You know, like Magic Johnson's overqualified perhaps at a lot of things, but underqualified for like specifically what it takes to make a winning team from nothing, which is what he tried to do, which was wild. He's like,
Go, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt just yet.
no, go for it.
Well, I mean, he was there to get elite talent, which he did. He got LeBron, and he whiffed on Paul George. But you put Paul George on that Lakers team,
Success.
and you think that they
Dangerous.
You think LeBron and the rest of the Lakers are a better team than Westbrook and that Thunder team?
Yes.
Really?
Well, I love Nerlens and I love Jeremy, so
Steven Adams.
But I still think LeBron, he got hurt. And they were playing okay before he got hurt. You add Paul George. Like, there's so many moving parts.
But can we even credit Magic Johnson for LeBron moving there?
We always say here,
This is Warner Brothers, really.
it was on his watch, so we have to. Like, what choice do we have?
I agree with that. Like, he can get credit for it, but at the same time,
Oh, no, we know. It's Space Jam.
he wanted to do Space Jam.
That's so crazy. Space Jam isn't
It's gonna be a flop.
It's going to fucking flop.
I
Like,
gotta-
there's just no way it doesn't flop. No one's going to the movies to see old-ass LeBron with some, like, Bugs Bunny and the Spartan guy. What's his name again? Mars?
So I asked this question on Twitter, Jordo, and I know, yeah, it's Mars Blackman, right?
No.
Wait, who's Mars Blackman in the Spike Lee ad?
Nine pounds like this.
Isn't that who it is?
No, that's
Mars Blackman was
Spike
Spike Lee.
Oh, so I'm getting confused with the character whose name is,
Lee. Mars, right?
It's like the,
hence the confusion.
Yeah.
well, he wears a little
Spartan helmet, right?
Spartan Greek helmet
He's awesome. Anyway,
because of the god Mars.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we unveiled this on the show.
We have
like
talked
last
about
year. It was
it's on the record.
another cookies fact.
Go back into the archive. Well, Jordos, on Twitter, I asked, since I know you're always on Twitter, I just have to remind
I'm
you.
on Twitter now. I just don't know how to use it.
So
That's probably the best use of it.
yeah, it's a cesspool.
It's a little box that can ruin your life. It's great.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at this little thing on my phone that I can instantly ruin my life with. That's cool to have on me at all times.
Do you think Space Jam 2 would be a bigger box office revenue earner with Giannis instead
Absolutely.
of... Right? It's
Absolutely.
Giannis. They should... I mean, LeBron produced this movie, so it's not up to anybody except him. But just saying in a vacuum, Giannis would be the most popular guy to take this role.
Like, look, Color of Money doesn't get the attention that it got without Tom Cruise. Paul Newman is another non-living legend, but he
love
was
his
like
food.
Paul Newman was like the top of his game. He was like winning Oscars and was nominated for an Oscar for that. But that movie doesn't get the attention it got without Tom Cruise being there. So in this scenario, LeBron is old as fuck like Paul Newman, needing glasses to shoot pool. And
Shout out to
Giannis is
Stefan's
out there like slaying chicks
father-in-law.
in the bathroom and spinning pool cues over around his head and stuff.
I mean, I want to go into Magic more, but Giannis saying no to LeBron is kind of an amazing flex, right?
In general, the report was that he's having trouble recruiting talent to join him, high-end talent to join him on Space Jam 2. The thing about Space Jam 2 is that we've been hearing about this for years. I remember going to the Terminal 23 Jordan facility that was near Madison Square Garden. It was an awesome space.
Me and Jordan went there once for a mellow party.
Yeah, so they would do events and
Where he
then
ignored us.
and you could play games
Still
in there.
tight, though.
And it was amazing. It was a really cool thing that existed for a few years. And 3 years ago, they had Blake Griffin Space Jam.
Oh, yeah, that teaser, right?
posters and
That little
and
vignette thing.
cardboard things, and like
Yeah.
even if I remember correctly, even like a projector putting something on the wall. So like the Space Jam 2 has been this rumored project for a significant amount of time. Also, Space Jam 1. Not good.
Sucks. Well, I mean, also we were like what 18 or something when that came out, so we were a little bit too old for cartoons and
Monster movies.
yeah, and we're maybe a little bit too old for like
Things
Michael
with tridents.
Jordan embarrassing himself like that.
Talking to fishes.
Because at that point we were old enough to understand that Michael Jordan was like a bad motherfucker. Like he was a total badass, could do whatever he wanted. Then all of a sudden he's like chumming it up with like Porky Pig and shit. It didn't quite like
Yeah, it didn't
quite
match
compute to
up,
people who knew who had like read the Jordan rules or something like that and knew like that he was.
The fashion that came out of it was great, though. The T-shirts were good. The clothing, I like the sneakers.
Also,
I have a Space Jam tee somewhere in there.
So nice. All of them are great.
Also, what's interesting is that Giannis said no
Iceberg.
to LeBron, and he's on Nike. He's got a brand new signature shoe coming out. You would think that Nike would be like, "Hey, in the interest of keeping it in the family, you got a new shoe to promote. You can wear that in the film." Because I mean, Harden, Steph, and I think KD couldn't do it because their own sneaker brands were kind of like, "You're supporting his sneaker brand."
Sorry, go ahead, Quill.
There's such an opportunity with Space Jam 2, right? And as we're finding out, like politically, like wouldn't it be cool if like the Monstars were like not the bad guys, like, and it would just like kind of be like a bigger movie at that point for like 2020, but from all reports it sounds like LeBron's just trying to do the marketing thing, like we say over and over on this pod, like he kind of got. He got MJ on the court, and now he's coming after his like off-court market. And I don't know if he has a good plan for it because times have changed.
I don't know who the audience for Space Jam 2 is necessarily because
It's your nephew,
to
right?
your point, LeBron is an older statesman of the game. He's one of the oldest guys in the NBA at this point. He's certainly still fantastic, but the guys who are LeBron fans, I would say, are probably older. They're not Gen Z. I mean, of course there are
They're
people who
probably
like him, but-
25 and up.
Right. I was going to say the kids probably don't have their imaginations captured by LeBron as much as they do, say, Kyrie.
Right.
Or maybe Giannis, but LeBron is
Big
probably
honey.
your dad's hero.
Yeah.
Or your uncle's hero versus you as a 14-year-old's hero.
Yeah. And like there's such an opportunity with Giannis, I thought, like when I say like the Monstars could like reflect politics, I'm like, they don't have to, like we could just switch up that whole dynamic, where it's just like the best superhero movies are ones that like kind of change the thing. Like I really loved Into the Spider-Verse. I thought that was awesome.
One of the best movies of the year.
Super fun. And it's kind of like it flips the whole origin story, Crime Alley thing upside down. It's awesome. But
Well, I mean, I think we're going to see in this like politically correct climate that the Monstars will indeed be villains at the beginning of Space Jam 2.
Totally.
And then eventually there will be an even
not unlike Captain Marvel.
yeah, and there'll be an even
spoilers.
worse threat coming
Yes.
from somewhere in the universe. And
Exactly,
so they
they
will
team up.
Team up.
Be awesome.
Like just be xenophobic against new people.
Right. Or
Like-
restaurants.
Yeah.
But
So you're saying it's basically just a like make basketball great border wall propaganda.
I mean, when you look at the old Space Jam plot
The
line,
Monstars are ice.
Hey man,
it's weird.
there is no wall if you can jump over it. Know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Yeah, think about
Whoa.
that. Fucking brain revelations.
Stepped into Truth Alley. Where I didn't expect. Oh, Truth Alley.
Oh wow, that's a brain revelation. Shit.
Information truther highway. Ow.
But like, what do the Lakers do now? What does Jeannie Buss do? Because you still have Rob Pelinka as a GM. You're going into a huge offseason and no team president. Does the team president even matter? Can Jeannie Buss just do it?
Of course not. And that's not a reflection on Jeannie Buss. It's on the idea that GMing is something that anyone who kind of knows basketball is capable of doing. And it's sort of true, you could argue.
I claim it's more about connections, though, and that's why we thought Magic would be good. It turns out his connections aren't as great as we thought.
I don't even think it is. I think that's something that basketball lifers do to excuse the fact that they're not good at this.
But Pelinka's being stonewalled, and everyone explains that like the gatekeepers don't like him, so he can't get anything done.
That may be true, But we also just don't know whether he's unsuccessful because they don't fuck with him or they don't like his offers or his
Right,
players.
it's hard to tell. Right,
They
Like,
can
we don't
say,
know enough.
dude, they just won't deal with me. I don't know what the problem is. And other people are like, well, that's because we don't want Brandon Ingram, dude. And we don't want to give you our star to play with LeBron in our conference.
Yeah.
That's kind of not our bag
Yeah,
right
Lonzo
now.
Ball got hurt. We can't give up AD for Lonzo Ball.
But there's still a perception from some places, and that's where you get Elton Brand, or you get, no shaming, or you get Pelinka and Magic, this kind of idea that the GM of a team doesn't need to be the guy who is a basketball dork, who gets under the hood and just is a former scout and dives into data and does all of these things. Because I think there are situations with, say, Ainge and Zarin where you can have a former player and a metrics guy coexist, and you can certainly be both. But I think the modern
agree.
GM job is fucking hard.
Yeah, I'm sure it's really hard, but don't you have a team of fucking underlings to do all that extra legwork for you? Like, don't you have 30 other people that you're representing?
Yes, but it's like, but
That's a skill to assemble that crew.
it's also
To assemble and to understand what they're saying.
yes.
and to listen to them.
You're right, totally. Because like we're finding out with the Knicks, it turns out that they don't have enough checks and balances in that company to succeed. Because even if there's somebody at like a low pay grade who's just like, oh, we should look at like these 5 websites that kind of detail why we're not performing well. And like, but you can't dunk. You've never been able to like cross someone over. Like, what do you know? We still have that existing in the NBA.
Oh, I'd love to see who is like the Jonah Hill in Moneyball at Madison Square Garden. Just some guy like in a little
love
chicken
that
wire coop. I love that.
What's kind of funny about that exact point is that there are certainly your dudes like Falk, right? That guy knows everything about basketball. You can sit and just listen to him and be like, I'm learning.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
knows everything. At the same time,
Ben Falk.
Ben Falk, right, who was with Portland and Philly.
Ben
and
Falk
that
5?
was a blogger who does the site
Columbo?
Cleaning the Glass. But he really knows his stuff. But he's in some ways an anomaly because there are a lot of guys in front offices that I'm sure you've talked to that Jordan has not talked to that doesn't fuck with you. But no, but my point is there are guys who work for
Understand? You've spoken to people in front offices?
Shade Boulevard.
But my point was that
I guess I'll step up my like brown nosing fucking basketball organizations game. And sit here and like talk about the one team over
my
and over.
brown-nosing basketball organizations game. Fuck yes.
is that what this alley is?
Am I on the wrong street?
But no, but the point that I was making before I denigrated Jordan's industry connections was that they're just normal guys who like
How
basketball.
many ball boys do you know?
That they're just a lot of them are just normal basketball fans. And when you see people on social media or talk shows, people just talking about basketball, it's like this idea that there's this almost like ceiling, right? Where we're these scrambling fans, but up there's people who like know hoops. Man, they don't.
No.
They don't. They do not know more than the average fan. They might have access to better data, some of them. They might not. They might not listen to the other people. They are normal fucking basketball fans in positions of power.
But yes, and you see this with a lot of former players who are what are they called? Talking heads or pundits on shows or even like hosting basketball shows. They have teams of people from networks like ESPN with numbers telling them what to say, giving them all of this information, and they still just seem like kind of casual basketball fans. Like, if you're a fucking like millionaire 30 times over, why would you be spending all of your time like with your head buried in the sand finding out more about the sport that you already like dominated? You're going to be like out there on your jet ski being like, cool, tell me what I have to say. Am I for or against this?
But there are players who are like really bright, good players who are really bright about this. And like, I think what Ben's talking about is like, I don't think that what you're talking about exists in the world. Like, it's always a situation where you know somebody who is a great cook, and everyone's like, you should open a restaurant. Cooking is not having a restaurant. being a GM is not knowing about basketball. Being a GM is having connections, being a lifer. Like, you always pose this awesome question to us, like, if we could travel back in time, Back to the Future wise, and we knew all about the adaptations and progressions in basketball, how would we take advantage of it as people just sitting here at a table? Would you like be an intern? Would you start a blog? Like, what would you do to like influence the future a little bit? And even though we know all these things about hoops, like the casual fan could like really get into it with all the stuff online and watching hoops. It's a different skill to get into a GM seat.
You know who a very good chef is, who I think should open a restaurant? Jalen Rose. Why is Jalen Rose?
Can he cook? What's up? Like,
Oh no,
in
I
the
just mean
kitchen?
like no. I was using your analogy.
Oh, okay. You lost me,
Fuck.
dude. I thought we were in
tripping on all that
literal
MSG?
lane. Is this not literal lane?
No. It's analog alley. Clumsy metaphor, meadows.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's not the talent. Like, a bad GM doesn't.
I guess
end
we're
up,
just forgetting that Jalen Rose should have a fucking NBA team.
You think he's like? I mean, he's super. I like all of his analysis, but
I think he's smart, and I think he's plugged in, and I think
But I
players
think-
like him, and more than like a.
But then LeBron gets hurt and he's terrible, right? Like, and then we frame it like that.
LeBron gets hurt and Jalen suits up. You know what I'm saying? Get it.
Woo!
I think we've seen the difference between really good GMs and guys who are just sort of normal dudes who like basketball that are in that position of power become more and more pronounced over the last few years. And one is that we're all collectively as fans paying more attention to the minutia. There's more transparency. There's more numbers available. You know, if you go back,
We just saw March Madness. There's more threes attempted and threes made ever
but
before.
if you go back 8 years ago, the only really advanced metrics you had were coming out of dudes who posted on message boards, and there was no publicly available RPM, there was no BPM, there was no spatial analytics, about
Player tracking.
there was none of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
All you really had was box score numbers, and then people kind of calculating their best versions of like win shares or something. We just didn't have this shit.
We're waiting for technology to catch up because smart people had sense that it was noisy.
Yeah,
for
and
reasons.
it did. It caught up, and now we have so much more information. I think we've seen a crescendo in the knowledge base for the above average fan.
I think we've seen peak analytics, and that's such a classic thing for an old person like myself to say. But like, we come up with new ways to describe these players, and like Jordan's always number 1, 2, 3. LeBron's always number 1, 2, 3. Like, we've reached peak analytics as a fan base, but not in front offices.
Who were the players? Just as a slight sidestep, who were the players that suffered the most from the wind changing? You know what I mean? Like whilst they were still playing, where people were like, "Oh, they're really, really good," and then within a couple of years, when all these analytics like really came to the fore, like, "Oh, psych, you suck. You're actually bad at basketball."
Famously, Kobe Bryant, but has kind of had a comeback.
But without necessarily getting worse. Like they still played just as well as they did, but then
Melo's a pretty
Melo's
good
up
candidate,
there.
Yeah, Melo.
Like Hibbert, is one of those people who had a
Bill
drop
Russell.
off, but he actually Bill Russell for sure, Havlicek.
Kareem
Are you saying
Abdul-Jabbar.
current guys?
No, but like guys
Post
who
96.
who went during their career when they were playing, and then all of a sudden it was just like, oh no, we can't use you at all. You're done.
I mean, like someone like DeRozan is a good example. That
Roy Hibbert.
in a prior generation, we would have thought of DeRozan as a superstar because he could put up 27 points a game. And you look at him now and you're like, well, you can't defend. You're not a great passer. You
Slapping
can't
guys.
shoot
I mean, who
threes.
can't put up 27 points a game at this point?
But I mean, DeRozan could do it like 2 years ago.
No, I know.
But even in the microcosm of New York, it's like with these analytics now, we recognize Mitchell Robinson as amazing, and we see Kevin Knox, someone who can score, being like, he doesn't have an upside
I don't think
that we can see.
I don't think any of us are metrics absolutists at all.
No.
So I kind of agree with.
Metrics absolutists.
But there are people you run into.
Sounds
Well,
like
we need them.
Latin.
I like crunching the numbers, but there are people who are like, well, so and so just isn't good at that because here's what the number says, and you're like, well, there are moving parts,
So many.
and I think to your point, we now have a lot of information, and some people say the information is static. Some people say it's all room for interpretation, which I think is probably the healthiest approach to
Still
any kind of
fun.
numbers in that way.
Like we were talking the other day, we were trying to figure out the most versatile player in the league, and Kawhi didn't have like a statistically good defensive year, but it's because they didn't like teams avoided where he was guarding, sort of like a cornerback in the NFL. The best ones just don't get passes thrown their way, and Kawhi suffers from that. They just stay away from him.
Well, the other thing with Kawhi is that because he's a wing defender and not a post defender, you can pick until he's off of the guy you want to attack,
Definitely.
and then run him to the other side of the court.
Definitely,
And
yeah.
it was to your point, you can just avoid him, and
He doesn't accrue rebounds or steals.
you can't
or
really
deflections.
you can't really do that with a center as much.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, we're going to get to the playoffs in a second, but
Did
just
we make fun of Magic enough?
just backtracking to Magic is what I wanted to let's to end that up. Is that I don't think it's going to work out for the Lakers because I don't think they'll hire someone good. And being redundant here, I think we have just seen the pronounced difference between a Morey, a Ujiri, a Hinkie, an Ainge-Zarin combo. Presti, we know who the good GMs are, and it's not a coincidence that their teams are repeatedly good, that they win at the margins, they attract good talent. They find talent in places that other guys can't, and other teams don't do it.
When's the
we
last
know
time-
the blueprint, and we know who follows it.
When's the last time a dumb team owner has hired a smart person? Is it Donnie Walsh in New York
That
with
might
Mike
be it.
D'Antoni? I like that
Probably.
brain trust. That was cool.
But that was an easy one, right? D'Antoni was coach of the year. He was known as,
But
as
still, you
the
know,
guy,
like
and they still couldn't hang. He
Yeah.
couldn't see it through.
oh yeah, no, they bailed on him right away, or not right away, but eventually. Yeah, I can't imagine. And like, it would be scary if Jeannie Buss and that organization hired somebody.
What if she hired Larry Bird?
uh,
Larry going to do what Magic
Kevin
couldn't.
McHale.
Well, they want Jerry West back, right? Which is so funny because he just left. Like this is his first year in LA, and they're like, "Yeah, get Jerry West back. He's the logo. He's a Laker at heart." I'm like,
Wait, back wasn't he in Golden State before Clippers?
And Memphis before that.
yeah, and like, I don't know what he's doing, but like the Clippers are like, it's a well-run organization, man. Like he did good this year. Whatever he did, I don't know. We don't know. But is he like Rick Rubin, or is he?
I think he might be.
Or is
He's
he
like,
Anthony Kiedis? Like what happening?
he's like the weird horse whisperer of NBA front offices.
Vibes
And I know
manager.
that from all the front office people I've been talking to.
They're pretty metricsy over there.
Yeah, for sure.
On a little bit of a low. Clippers are metricsy.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're on the same wavelength as teams like Brooklyn or Houston, but they are not slacking in that regard in the way that the Lakers infamously were. But I don't see them hiring Sam Hinkie. And
No,
that's
it's not
kind of
going to
what you're
happen.
saying.
It's like
If
he's
Jeannie
not a
Buss
winner.
was like
yeah, we don't lose on
was like
purpose.
Sam fucking Hinkie.
Yeah.
Bring him in. I'd be like, look out. It's like, look out. You're gonna hire a smart, hardworking dude who's not about being a star or cares about his relationships.
Yeah.
And let him make decisions for that organization. It has LeBron and young guys. Look the fuck out. But they won't.
I mean, it's a good chance that they just hired David Griffin and Ty Lue, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's more probable than Sam Hinkie.
I could totally see David Griffin, who's kind of the kind of person I'm talking about. He knows hoops.
Pedigree.
He's
LeBron
smart.
likes him.
I've interviewed him before. He knows his stuff. He's not. No, I'm
Let me
saying.
just pick this up on
Yeah,
name
yeah.
drop street alley court.
Oh,
No,
was
I'm
that a the aforementioned front office flex?
Might be, but no. But he knows.
Oh wait,
his
who's
stuff. He's
the
smart.
dude from Philly? Doesn't he tweet at you all the time? Your man in Philly?
Who?
Elton Brand?
Yeah.
No,
No shaming.
but yeah, I think Griffin would be a fine hire. I don't know that he's someone whose track record reflects him being a phenomenal GM.
But he was a present when a team was succeeding.
But he definitely knows hoops. He's
I like
not-
him. I wanted the Knicks to hire him.
Yeah, I think he'd be fine.
Yeah.
But
But before we go on, shout out to Magic Johnson though, because he just gets wiped all over social media and all these things. But we can all relate to him, right? Like, I think he did the right thing. He just wasn't into it. He took that job. We've all committed to things that like we thought we'd enjoy, and he just didn't like it. So like, I kind of give him a lot of credit for stepping down now and not seeing it through like a soldier. He's just like, this ain't for me, guys. Like, I'm out. I'd rather like hang out with you. Like, I really respect that. I'm into it. I'm sad that we don't have the Lakers jokes anymore because like he would have done something funny. But in terms of just like not really caring that much because the Lakers are gonna be funny anyway, like shout out to Magic Johnson who's just like living his damn life.
I'm enormously sympathetic to Magic
Yeah.
on this one. Like, we're making fun of him, but I'm like,
Yeah, and he's generous with that. Like,
LeBron's gonna be pissed that he didn't fire Walton first, though, right? He's like, bro, really? You were like
I mean, it's
12
all
hours away
annoying,
from firing the coach. Now I got to go through my second year. You said you were gonna be here for 5. You're gonna see the end of my career through. Now you've left me with this pile of dog shit.
Yeah.
Like, and they're not gonna fire Walton now. Like,
oh, they're gonna let him go. I think
they could. It depends on who they hire.
They're gonna Jaeger him.
Are they really going to keep Pelinka running the show by himself? It's surely
No
not
way.
the
They can't
clout
keep
that you
him.
have with Magic there.
the stories we're hearing about Pelinka now, like, there's no way they can keep him. Like, apparently, no one's talking to him.
they should
No, he-
they should hire Dell Demps. Just have the fucking snake eat its own tail again.
Well, there's other news because this is playoff cookies.
happy playoffs, guys.
Welcome to playoff.
love
to
cookies.
playoff.
This cookie is a
Parkway.
playoff basketball podcast.
Playoff Parkway. We've got 8 exciting first round matchups.
Some more than others.
I got to tell you guys, these particular matchups are my favorite first round matchups for many years.
Go
Go
on.
off.
I was just, can I go on rather than go off?
I said go on,
I said go off.
but I wish I said go off.
I wish I'd said go on.
I think they're kind of cool. I think there's some weird sleepery matchups in here, and I think even the
Which
series
ones?
that will
Which ones? Name names. Let's go, because maybe our listeners don't know these matchups.
be okay. So
No, let's just start with what's your favorite? What's the one that really gets your loins aflame?
my inflamed loins are really excited about Golden State Warriors versus the LA Clippers.
Whoa.
And why is that? What's really
I did
flaming
not
those
see that
loins?
coming.
It is going to be a sweep, but every game will be close.
See, this is when Jordan shines. We were talking about earlier, like, let's just do analysis, stay away from the predictions. He's like, 4-game sweep, every game close.
I don't want to
And
give
we're done.
predictions. It's a fucking sweep.
Yeah, you guys said you didn't want to give predictions, and I think that's really kind of
Oh, look at him
make a-
shifting the blame on.
Oh,
top.
make a prediction, coward.
Yeah, exactly. If you lily-livered bastards don't want to like put your shit on the line,
Jordan has been living off of one incredible prediction that he made 3 or 4 years ago, and he's just been riding it. I don't think he's going to stop.
Not unlike
riding
Magic
this.
Johnson.
what? I didn't say that the Clippers were even going to take a game. I just said I think that those games will be tight.
I know. I just mean as master predictor a few years ago, for those who were unaware, Jordan called that OKC would go up 3-1 against the Warriors and then lose the series. And lo and behold, it
I fell asleep
happened.
for a second. What happened?
And we had to deal with
Anyway.
Jordan
Anyway.
fucking
Okay.
Nostradamus over
But
here.
then my next take was that
We don't want to get into what we
my
got
next
right
take
and
was
wrong.
that Warriors would win in 7, but no one would win at home, and that didn't happen at all.
No one remembers that one. They just remember the 27-footer leaner heat check that you
But
made.
you know, we love Gestradamus stuff in
Yeah.
general. But going back, it's just like way too hazy. But let's Gestradamus away.
Jordan's like, no, I remember very
Receipts.
clearly
Receipts.
what happened there.
And I didn't just guess that. I gave my reasons for that as well.
Are you going to do that with the Golden State Clippers series?
I just think it's going to be pretty exciting. I think the Warriors will not be on turbo just yet. I think they'll be saving themselves a little bit for the Houston.
Oh, I watched
series.
the DeMarcus Cousins documentary last night.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
boring.
It was.
So boring.
There
Like,
was dubstep in it, though.
Yeah. Oh, great. Like one of the most entertaining players of the last 10 years in bed. Like, who gives a shit?
Staring out the window.
Yeah.
And I was like, your sheets are going to get dirty. He had no, like, tray. He was just, like, eating food off his pillow. A very likable guy, though.
Jordan
Super
said
likable.
in bed in the cadence and tonality of the fortune cookie joke, which I appreciated. Where it's like you open up a fortune cookie and you read it, and then you say "in bed" after it.
Okay. Do you understand what he's talking about?
You
No.
are kind to others in bed.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
Still don't get it.
I got it.
Anyway, you guys go ahead. That's the one I'm excited about. Warriors, Clippers, and also Philly, Brooklyn, just because it's local and I want to see Philly lose in
Is
the first
Embiid's
round.
knee okay? God damn it.
they're very cryptic about it the other day.
So annoying that his knee's fucked up.
I guess on one hand, you could say their crypticness,
Crypticality.
crypticism,
Crippled.
is a strategy. Let's not let the Nets know who to prepare for.
Oh. They're playing
Embiid's playing. We designed
420th dimensional chess.
we designed an entire game plan for Amir Johnson and Greg Monroe, and now we've got to deal with this 7'2" Leviathan.
I was all in on Greg Monroe, and then he hit a 3. Unethical.
Oh,
Can't have him. You can't have that
that's
here.
a tough scene.
Yeah. Hate to see it. Are you guys psyched for Houston, Utah? That's going to be incredible.
So
Yes. Houston, Utah.
Officer Mitchell.
Well, Houston, Utah pits together the two teams who have been the best in the NBA over the
Since
last
the
It's
break.
month.
All-Star break, right?
And I mean, over the
Utah
last
did this last year, too.
over the last 15 games, they're the two best teams in the NBA, but by a lot. Golden State's third, but Houston, Utah are 1 and 2. So that is a rough scene for both of those
For
teams.
both those teams, I think they split the regular season series, correct? Or did Utah even win it?
Gobert, secretly MVP candidate, man. He ranks high in, like, every metric. Except passing.
Out
Except
of all
guard stuff.
all these teams, Utah is kind of a nightmare matchup for Houston because Gobert's not going to leave the paint because Capella can't leave the paint. So all those pick and roll
Two
lobs,
very ethical players.
those pick and roll lobs start to disappear after a little while.
Harden's just going to go nuts, though. It's...
To me,
I can't wait till nuclear Harden happens.
I'm really excited for that series. I think Houston will win, just because they have the
They're
best
the better
player
team, yeah.
They're
just better
They're
right
better.
now.
They have the best player,
Anything can happen, but...
and they might even have the second best player as well, depending on which version of Chris Paul we see.
I was like, Capella?
No, and Gobert is fantastic. That's not to diminish him. I just mean it's possible.
Yeah.
But I like that series a lot. The one
Maury's plan came together, and I'm happy they're all healthy because everything's in place.
Yeah, not to do full season retrospectives here, but Houston's demise was significantly overrated early in the season. And it dovetailed with injuries to guys like Capella and Chris Paul. And they had some adjustments to make after
Gordon.
losing Ariza. Yeah, Gordon was awful
Yeah.
to start the season. And now we're
Luke
starting
Baumute
to
was not around.
now we're starting to have a little vision of what this team was supposed to be like, and they're good.
And Maury did something. He was like, I'm not going to sit around and just... I mean, there's a time to do nothing, and there's a time to do something. And he did everything, and I'm psyched that they're here.
It's like, cool, we're gonna get Shump. We're gonna, go and get
Rivers.
Rivers. We're gonna go and get your boy Fareed. Like
I like them, Animal.
That's what I'm saying. Like they went out and they tried to improve their team, and it worked. The series I'd like. I don't have a great prediction, but I'm excited to see what Orlando does against Toronto.
Why do you love Orlando so much? We got to talk about this because it's been a solid month.
He's
Well, for
got
one,
a little Vooch boner over here.
M. Vooch Pete. Well, for one, I do have to say that I incorrectly identified the coach of my favorite Magic last week.
You Vogeled it.
I Vogeled the game.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, thank God Vogel's there to improve the defense.
I got every single Final Four team wrong.
Someone on
so
Twitter's like,
whatever.
Vogel was fired a year ago, dude. I'm like, yes, of course. Naturally, they improved his
The
terrible
perils
defense.
of doing
He's like,
a
but their
podcast,
center,
a
Carlos
Chinese food-
Boozer, is still there.
Like, sir, this is a Chinese food podcast.
So yes,
Oh, no. Fortune cookies.
so I like the Magic. In bed.
Yeah. We can tell.
Is this the Vooch boner you're referring to? But I think Magic have a. Wait, did I just call him
it
Magic,
Magic
instead
Johnson?
of the Magic? Wait, did I just call him Magic?
Is the Vooch boner a Magic Johnson?
Wait.
Yes.
Hold on.
Which is also a wizard dick. if you really think about it.
Oh God.
I wonder if anyone ever disrespected Magic Johnson so much he's like starts chirping at them and they're like, whatever, wizard dick. Probably not, right?
I don't know. Who would say that though? Would Larry Bird go there?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Gary Payton famously called him necromancer cock.
You got it out.
Sorcerer dong.
Sorcerer dong. I like that. Merlin Wang.
Merlin Wang. Is that one of your guys? He's got a new spot. Lucky Merlin.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Someone who enjoys Chinese food but isn't Asian?
Yes.
Anyway.
Is that one of your guys?
Anyway. I like Orlando.
How many billions of you are there now?
I like Orlando because they can play defense, and I think they have been a significantly better team over the last few months than people think of the Magic being. We view them as a mediocre team, which they are for the whole season, but in the way of Utah improving significantly. Orlando's been a tough out, and they've beaten a lot of good teams, although they've lost to a lot of shit teams. They're the kind of odd wild card that you could see just being an obnoxious first-round opponent in the way that I don't know that Brooklyn is.
Yeah, but is this
disagree,
some
man.
Toronto playoff bias as well? You know, like given that historically the last 3 years have kind of what some people refer to as shitting the bed.
Shitting on the salad?
Yeah.
I mean,
Old Poop Alley.
but Toronto's like drastically different than
Toronto's
anything
going to rock Orlando. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
there's not even. They're not.
I think they might toy with them.
Yeah, I think it might be a sweep, and unlike Golden
well,
State,
look at who has
unlike Golden
predictions.
State Lakers,
What?
it
That's
won't be
two
close.
sweeps
It won't
already,
be
man.
fucking 2 sweeps, and that one won't be close. Not a single
Sweep season over here.
double figure defeats for your boy. For Vucci
Vogel.
boy over there, yeah, for the Vooch and the
M.
formidable
Vogel P.
Vooch and Vogel combination.
The Magic Boner. All right, Kuo, what's your series to get scorned for talking about?
I am most interested in Nikola Jokic because we have
Getting
not.
tuned up by Pop.
Well, I'm not interested in the Spurs necessarily, but it's going to be awesome to see like such an antiquated kind of collection of players play kind of a point guard who's 7 feet tall and like 300 pounds who has a really bad temper. So I'm excited to see him be the alpha finally in a playoff series because people have gotten under his skin lately, and I want to see him kind of either implode or just like rocket.
Yeah, that's the thing. He might explode for a flurry of points and boards and just rock everyone, or he might get tossed from the series in the first game for throwing a ball at someone's face.
I believe those are the sex cops coming for you guys.
Oh man, all that boner talk really did it. Who got screwed? Speaking of boner talk,
Well,
who got screwed? Looking at the brackets here,
I would say the entire East because Milwaukee has the easiest path to the finals. And I was throwing around this idea recently, like, did Milwaukee gentrify the East? I'm just throwing this out there.
I still don't understand where you're going with that, so let's hear it.
Let's say, with all this real estate talk we've been having on Cookies lately, it's like if we believe in gentrification, like the definition of it, which is like taking something. Oh, this is tricky because it's a very sensitive thing, but just in terms of basketball, taking a low, small market team and elevating that market to compete with like middle or huge markets, and especially Giannis, is he a gentrifying type of player where like it was Kevin Durant's turn after LeBron James, right? And Kevin Durant needs to go to New York now because Giannis has like changed the whole real estate landscape of the NBA because it's so clear that he's more advanced, he's 10 years younger, and he's just a more interesting player that Durant thought he was next in line for. And like the East...
Are you complaining about foreigners coming and taking American
No,
jobs?
I'm celebrating them.
I think Durant missed his window to be
He played
known
it wrong.
as the best player on the planet because LeBron stuck around being dominant a little longer than people anticipated, and he's still good enough that people will give him that title for a little bit longer. Durant's going to be 32 next year. He's not that young.
Dude,
I believe that's right. I think he's going to be 30, maybe 31.
31. I think he's.
But
in
next year.
in NBA years, he's us. He's like the aging out generation.
But to that point, so LeBron is easing out. Someone starts coming up. Durant's too old. He's too part of LeBron's generation to be next up. He had his window. He didn't take it. And it's clearly Giannis. Giannis is already at least as good as Durant, who is fantastic and in his prime and crushing it. But he tossed away a couple years. And Giannis is here now.
Is Giannis the big shiny condo in your neighborhood? Like, what is that doing? How did that get there? Now it's going to be here for 10 more years.
Look, you're over
Is
here
Giannis
and
a food hall that is just being displaced into your?
I like food halls.
Oh yeah, you do like food
I'm
halls.
still not totally sure about the gentrifying thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I was throwing it out there.
No, I get it. But I do think Giannis has usurped Durant's position as next up. I 100% think it.
he's
'Cause
annoying,
Giannis
right?
Giannis is next up.
All these players that we're looking at in this bracket are all annoyed at Giannis, being like, "Oh, you have the easiest path to the finals, and you're so good. You're probably the best player in the NBA, and you're that
Yeah,
young."
and you should have the easiest path to the finals because you had the best record in the league. So
I agree. And Boston is in a rebuild, so they don't have to worry about them at all. Detroit, you can take down.
Now
Indiana.
Boston kind of screwed the pooch. You know, a couple more losses, they could have been looking at better ping pong balls.
you know what really helps Milwaukee in this scenario with Brogdon out for the first one or two series is the fact that Marcus Smart is also out.
That kind of broke my heart a little bit because he's like the most fun to see in a playoff series, right? That dude is awesome. And
Right, and you're looking at Milwaukee playing Detroit, who's not a very good team, and then going against Indiana without Oladipo or Boston potentially without Smart because he might miss the second round as well. That's just cruising through.
And you don't have to face Philly or Toronto.
And then Brooklyn and Orlando are both better than Detroit.
One of them's gone, right, by that time.
Yeah, but Brooklyn and Orlando are both better than Detroit and probably Indiana right now.
Yeah, Milwaukee's bracket is the one you want.
The Warriors did not get lucky considering they have the best record in the West because the Clippers have been fantastic. They don't lose, which is a good strategy, as we discussed. Then they have to face a top 3 team in the league in the second round with Utah or Houston.
Yeah.
There's no one they can root for.
And people were complaining we don't want to see a heavyweight matchup in the second round, Golden State, Houston, maybe. I'm like, bring it on. I want it all right now.
What do you guys feel about Oklahoma City Thunder making the Western Conference Finals?
I think
Nurkic getting hurt was a huge deal.
I think they got a really nice draw.
Yeah.
You play an
You guys
injured
don't trust
Portland
Denver?
team.
I mean,
No,
Denver was
I don't
really...
trust Denver at all. I don't trust them to get past the Spurs, to be honest.
Are you kink-shaming Jokic?
No, he's
I wish
the
we
love
had
of my life.
I wish we had more knowledge about how teams fared against each other on some of these because
yeah.
I don't my understanding is that Denver creams OKC. That they waxed them this year. But that OKC waxes Portland. So
Stop saying waxes. That's a horrible word.
Yeah.
It's what is another... moist is a terrible word.
Yeah, awful word.
oh come on, we're not
Can't
having
do
a
it.
discussion about how moist is a gross word.
Let's rank these words.
You know
Okay,
it's
no,
also
no.
bacon, sriracha. I hate moist.
What are you talking about?
Ah, dude, moist being a lousy word is the
Stop
most
saying
cliche
that.
conversation. Moist, moist, moist.
Keep saying it, moist boy.
Jordan, I'm
One of the greatest bands ever.
Moist boys?
The Moist Boys.
I'm gonna get a chalkboard instead of a big board and just scratch it when you come in here.
Oh, Jordan does not like
No,
that.
I'm totally fine with that. It's tape on paper.
Oh, yeah,
It's
you hate
adhesives
packing tape.
Yeah. So go ahead, get your fucking chalkboard out. Do your worst, moist boy.
There's a lot of packing
Wax,
tape in this
wax
building.
man.
Anyway, I think OKC good draw first round. Not sure about Denver, but they could certainly make it to the conference finals. Just to give a few thoughts about the Sixers and Brooklyn.
I was
because they
hoping
are-
for that.
I know you were because they are two favorites of the pod.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Earlier in the season, I was a little more concerned about Brooklyn against Philly because they have such a dearth of guards. I'm kind of less worried about them now than I was back then for reasons that sound really insane in a vacuum.
Go off.
getting Zaire back.
Zaire
For Philly.
Yeah, with his food poisoning.
Oh, he almost died.
Peanuts can kill him. But getting him back, I think, giving them even one more perimeter defender against Brooklyn is a really big deal for a team that just does not have those kind of guys. And 20 minutes, I think that's just the difference.
You think he's going to see 20 minutes in the playoffs?
Do you think they even need a perimeter defender against Ben Simmons?
No, he's talking against Brooklyn. Zaire
Oh, yeah,
Smith
you're
versus
right.
Brooklyn. Because they have a lot of...
God damn it! I flubbed my chance to make fun of.
Don't worry, that's
Bill
your
Simmons.
first. This is your first flub today, so you can take that.
Yeah, it was just like one missed free
You were
throw
batting
after.
1,000.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, I think Brooklyn's combination of LeVert and
Dinwiddie.
Russell and Dinwiddie is really dangerous, and Philly doesn't have a lot of answers for that. But having one other guy who you can put in the rotation to cover them, I think Brooklyn is a mediocre team, and their advantage in personnel, even that being mitigated a little bit, they just don't have the horses to really compete with Philly because they don't have a guy who can guard Embiid. They don't have a stretch five who can really pull him out of the paint. They're they're a mediocre team.
Just
Philly's
getting here.
good.
Yes,
Brooklyn's mediocre.
just getting here and the excitement of Brooklyn kind of overperforming this year has been fantastic. But let's not pretend like Philly's an excellent team. Even with like an Embiid at 80%, they should be able to take care of business. I mean, they're finals contenders for me. I mean, I want to see Milwaukee, Philly really badly.
Yeah, that series has been extremely fun while they've played. And if Brogdon isn't healthy, that's a huge disadvantage for the Bucks.
I'm just so worried about Embiid, man. I'm so bummed. Like,
Well, they can't go anywhere without him.
yeah, and like we don't know enough right now. Maybe they have an easy time with Brooklyn, and it'll get better as the months go on. Yo, the playoffs.
I mean, I think
last
they're
forever.
gonna rest him a little bit against Brooklyn. It's not like they're worried about Jared Allen going off on them and they're like, shit, we got to insert big man in.
I forget what website posted a tweet about Jared Allen being like the king of blocks, and it sent all Knicks fans into a tizzy. Some Pacers fans got into there with some Miles Turner.
I think Philly got very lucky to not have to play Orlando with the mighty Vooch in the middle of the paint there. Some people call it the Vooch boner, but
The mighty Vooch.
But I do think that was a big lucky break for the Sixers. Not that they would have lost to Orlando,
I don't know. You love Orlando, man.
because against Philly, Orlando has
Yeah, sure.
They can
Isaac is different.
but they can bring Embiid out of the paint. They have
Yeah.
Isaac.
Yeah, but what are you talking about? They're gonna get waxed by Toronto.
Gross.
Gross.
No, I just think Vooch could get moist out there against against
Moist
the Sixers.
boys. Should we just call the Magic the Moist Boys from now on?
I think
down.
so.
I'm in.
Done.
I know you're down. I can tell.
Oy.
Bye.
This has been a moist yet perfect pod.
Yeah, you really gotta stop saying that.
Which is the perfect pod? No, that's tradition.
Oh yeah, of course.
So let's get back in a few days after we've seen a few playoff results, and we can reevaluate Jordan's predictions.
Oh, also any Philly or Brooklyn fans out there, we wouldn't hate going to a playoff game with y'all. You know, like you can listen to all such joyous, moist takes in person.
Is there Chinese food at Barclays?
You tell me, you're the expert.
Why? I'm white.
Oh, shh.
Wait, this is running. Perfect pod.
Perfect.
Cookies.